I credit the church for every piece of expertise in any of this. It's like university degree. You got a degree from the church.
You're a collection of creativity. Everything that you've done, it becomes who you are. And those experiences go with you to the next thing. Live production and then editing and then After Effects is like you're taking those experiences and now they've come with you into your business. They can't take it away because you actually lived it out. I took that step like 2 years ago to really put myself out there. Prior to that, I was always behind the camera. Holding the camera, I'm an introvert, I don't talk a lot. Putting myself out there was a scary thought. I decided to take the step. If I am going to be a better videographer, a better coach for the people that I'm telling, like businesses to create content, then I have to be creating content as well.
The content isn't the product is the product you should be selling. I am not posting content just to post content because it's part of my identity. I am posting content because it is the marketing function of the business I'm building. When I changed my mindset from being a creator to being a business owner, a big part of that meant that the content doesn't pay the bills. The business pays the bills and the content brings the business.
Let's start here, so what do most businesses get wrong about content?
What do most businesses get wrong about content? Man, there's so many things. I feel like every time I take on a new client, we're always course correcting. But I think the biggest one is underestimating the power of storytelling in content. I've had the privilege, I think off the back of what I speak about in my personal brand, to have more trained clients that understand that truth. But I remember a few years ago, a lot of the conversations I would have with clients is trying to convince them that, this piece of content that might not get the most amount of views off the rip is actually going to be 10 times more valuable than if we just, get your cute little intern to dance in front of a camera for a TikTok video with a call to action. So I think for sure this notion that, Instagram metrics or TikTok metrics equal business metrics, which is really the thing. It's like people equate high view counts and virality to more business and opportunity. Right. And that's just not true. That's a myth. And so they get that wrong all the time, for sure.
Nice. I love that you actually bring that up because I'm the same way. I tell my clients, even going viral for them is different from other people. Like virality for the person that has 2 million followers is different from the one that has 10K followers. And so looking at that, and even for businesses as well, you want people that could buy something, You're not just trying to, get followers just to get followers or create content just to create content. You want whatever you're putting out there to actually bring value to people and, your marketing in a sense, and for people to actually purchase and do that. So, leading this off with value first and letting people understand that this is what we're trying to help businesses understand content strategy. So what should business owners be measuring? Actually, you already talked about this. Be measuring when it comes to video content.
Yeah, well, I think obviously you want to have metrics because off the back of what I said, someone might think, oh, well, then we just shouldn't care about views, or we shouldn't care about engagement, or we shouldn't care about the metrics that, these platforms provide us. That's not true. I posted a video recently talking about this difference between, reach metrics and business metrics. And so what people should look forward is, I say in that video, reach metrics are views, shares, and, like reposts. Like those are all kind of vanity-based metrics. And there's business metrics, which is like DMs, engaging comments and calls booked. These are things that you can actually track from social media to your business by setting up the right systems that give you some more predictable and effective KPIs in regards to content strategy. And so what, I think the original question was, what are the metrics people should look for in content or in videos? And I think are people actually following through with the call to action? Because there is like a bad video, a video that is simply going straight to, here's my offer, you should buy it. If you're only posting that stuff, you're just an advertisement that nobody's going to want to follow. But if you layer that into like great content, then you'll see the conversions go up because people will actually be doing the call to actions. And so
Yeah,
That to me is the biggest way to track success on social media with
that's
videos for
good.
sure.
That's good. And I'm glad that even you talked about storytelling in the beginning of this. It's because storytelling is that you can't take away someone's story. You know, you can never take away someone's story. So if you're leading with your story first, you know, it's especially when you're building a personal brand, it's personal to you. It's something you've already lived, it's your experiences. So it's something that someone cannot take away from you. And then when you're talking about a corporate brand, it's like the stories about how the company was built and how value could be added, how you gain this trust from this client, you know, and now your company is worth $1 billion because, you know, you've spent the last 20 years telling stories, and those stories live forever and they're worth being told.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
agree
mean?
100%. I think even
Yeah.
even you know even finding creative ways to include your personal life into the business is super cool. Like I worked actually for 2 years as the creative director of a tech company in Dallas, and the
Nice.
the CFO actually had a very strong presence on LinkedIn. And you know, we see this, and it's kind of like if you live on LinkedIn, which I'm sure a lot of people don't, but LinkedIn is famous for, in kind of a corny way, like forcing personal life into business. And so it'll be a funny it'll be a post of somebody with their family and be like, you know, this Thanksgiving we were thankful for all the ROI we received in our business. And you know, it's like this super corny, like clear thing that you're playing, but there is a powerful tool behind that, and it's the people relate to people, and it's that marketing tactic of you want to make sure that whatever you're saying in advertising and marketing and anything client facing is relatable, because that's what's going to keep people engaged and want people to work with yours. Like there's no stronger separator in the market than, for me, for example, the reason I follow Andrés is because I'm also Venezuelan, and I also have a daughter, and I also have a wife. And so if I want coaching from a content coach, I'm going to go to him because he's just like me. That is way stronger than giving somebody the most valuable piece of info that might change their business forever. Because especially now with ChatGPT, you can just look that up. But it's building trust. And I think that off the back of what you were saying, keeping storytelling and finding ways to make sure you're mentioning, like I try to all the time in my content, I'm mentioning, I'm able to live in Miami with my wife and daughter because I know there's other parents who might want to know how to make money off their content, and that's who I'm speaking to.
Totally.
So that's
cool,
1,000% key.
I love that. I love your content, man. Especially you switched it up lately in the last, I think, 2 weeks or so, and it's looking fire,
Thank you,
bro.
bro.
So it's pretty dope. Yeah, man. So if someone, you know, is posting weekly, but they're not getting any traction in their business or in anything that they're doing, what are they missing?
That could be a lot of things. I think, now in today's age, the reason, and we can touch on my content strategy and what I shifted recently, because that's a big reason why I shifted.
Okay.
The algorithm right now, and in general, but this is just like a fact that is very clearly reflected in the accounts that are growing fast. From days 1 to 90 of you starting to post content, the idea is to what they call seed the algorithm. So on social media, the algorithm needs as many inputs as possible to know who to share it with. We all know these things that we all hated when it first happened. But like the fact that only 10% of our audience sees our videos when we post it, all of these things, because it's trying to find the audience for you. That being said, to the person posting weekly and not getting any traction, you're probably not posting enough. Like I shifted from posting twice a week to posting every day. And, I reset my algorithm by taking like a 2-week break. And then I was kind of inconsistent in the month of December because holidays. So it was great because I was able to reset my algorithm and launch a new strategy. But in general, that concept of if you're not seeing traction, you're probably not putting in as much as you think you are. It's the same as in the gym. Like if you only go to the gym twice a week, you'll see some growth. You know what I mean? You'll see a little bit, but it's going to take way longer. And you're just not putting in as many inputs for the expectation you might have in your head. Like, I'm hitting, I'm lifting more than I ever have been, but you're only lifting 1 time a week. Like you're not going to outgrow the guy in the gym lifting every day,
Right.
So.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I'm glad that you talked about inputs and outputs because most people worry so much about the output, you know, but I feel like what we should be worried more about is the input. Like, how much are you actually doing? You know, don't worry about what comes out of it. Like, if you do put in more work and put in the input that is necessary, you are going to get the output that you need and you desire. With your, you know, the gym reference, if you want to get swole, you better be in the
Right.
gym 5, 6 times a
Yeah.
week, you know, twice a
Yeah.
day.
Your
know,
effort has to reflect your desired outcome. And a lot of
yeah,
people, they have this expectation on themselves, or really not even on themselves. They have an expectation of like Mark Zuckerberg and Adam Mosseri to like magically lift this invisible ceiling that we think we have placed on our, like, you're not shadow banned, bro. You're just posting too little, or you're not thinking thoroughly about the kind of content that you're posting. Because there are people who grow with one a week post, but I guarantee you their content is probably 200% more thought out and deliberate
yeah.
than yours. So it's always like everything, you know, it's funny because it's like a life
Yeah.
principle. Everything should be, especially like as a man, should be a reflection of like your accountability. Like, what am I doing
Right.
that is lacking? And it's the same exact thing in content. Like I for one, I'm excited that I finally like have the ability to really sew into like a daily series, because I just wasn't able to, because I was busy. Like, I didn't have an infrastructure set up around my business to be able to do it. Now that I do, I have no doubt, and you can clip this and show me this after my 90-day sprint, I have no doubt I'm gonna at least be revenuing like 5K a month on my personal brand business and having 25,000 followers by the end of this. Not because I'm great, but because I understand how the algorithm works, and you just need to seed it as much as possible.
For
But
sure.
we'll see. You might
That's
clip
good.
this and then like do like a, you know, like 90 days later, like SpongeBob thing. And then it's like, I lost followers for some reason. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, and that actually happens. Like when you first start, you know, especially when you reset your algorithm and then you start posting more consistently, you are gonna lose followers because then people are gonna see you like, why am I following this person again? You know, because I haven't seen anything from this person. You will lose followers, but then you're gonna start gaining traction and then gaining the followers. So the question now is, what is the difference between posting content and using content strategically in a business?
I love that. The series is literally built around this, like how to build a business with content in 90 days.
yeah.
So
Nice.
repeat that question one more time.
So what is the difference between posting content just to post content and then using content strategically in a business?
Okay. So the main thing is, if you're posting content just to post content, you're probably missing two things, and one's dependent on the other. One is you're missing some sort of infrastructure or system to capture whatever lead you're trying to capture. Because the reality is content is simply just 2026 marketing. It's, you know, what was back in the day getting a Super Bowl commercial is, you know, investing in a high converting campaign on social media. That's what works now. And so if you think about it that way, when you set up a Super Bowl commercial, there's a link at the end of the commercial for people to go to. There's a call to action saying, get your buy two, get one free, Taco Bell, nachos, Supreme, whatever. You know, everything in that has some sort of leading to an action system, which is one of the things you're missing. You probably don't have call to actions if you're just posting content. Second thing you're missing is you don't have the system behind the scenes, behind the content, to actually capture those leads. And there's 100 ways to do that. But the easiest one is setting up an automation on ManyChat to where people can comment something on your post at the end of your thing. And then, you know, that'll direct them to your offer, or that'll direct them to your business. But yeah, if you're just posting content just to like grow for no reason, just posting, you're missing the business side of it. You probably don't have that set up. So that'll lead. Because what a lot of people do is they'll post just to post with, again, an expectation that because you're growing a little bit, that'll lead people to buy. And that's not enough. Like, they need to be able to click on something to buy right now, fresh off the video they just saw, not like follow you and then you decide to like put things together 3 months down the line. That's already like, they're not going to buy anymore. And so that's the biggest thing, I think. It's the lack of a system, the lack of a business system in your content strategy. I think that's the biggest one.
Right. And that's the difference that separates, just a creator just creating and a business owner that is creating. There's a lot of, right now, you see a lot of businesses out there that are creating a media section to their company, solely just for content and marketing. And then there's offers, and then from the offers, there's income coming in and it's being generated. Whereas some creators think about, oh, if I post more, I'm going to get the attention of a brand, and then the brand is going to reach out, and then they're going to start paying me to post. It doesn't always work that way. You have to have some kind of a system behind why you're posting. Like, I've been using Sony for 10 plus years, right? Just because I'm, posting like, hey, I'm using Sony camera, doesn't mean that Sony's going to reach out to me and offer me a brand deal. If I want Sony to reach out to me, I have to be strategic, with the posts that I do make in order for Sony to, and that's not the plan anyway. I just love Sony products,
right.
What I mean? So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So what should creators have an offer first or content first?
Offer first, 100%. So it's perfect. I just launched in December, over a weekend. I launched like a cohort group, like paid community that people can join. Dope. And right now we launched with 12. We have 9 now. 3 dropped out for like personal reasons, and it's been great. Like the feedback has been amazing. And we just finished. I do a masterclass every Thursday where we go over something, related to how to make money with content. And because the point of the community is I have a kind of a workbook that I released, a free workbook called the 90-Day Content Challenge. And the idea is, here's what you need to set up your brand identity, to actually take the time to do that first and foremost. And second, like commit to some sort of cadence for the next 90 days to build at the very least, confidence to post more. But at most, like to establish an actual audience and start growing. With that, we kind of went through the workbook's like discovery phase. And then weeks 3 and 4, I told them about like, I created a whole deck around monetization of your content through offers. And the idea was, okay, these people are building content pillars and setting up their repeatable formats and all this stuff, but most of them don't have an offer. Like 5 of them have like businesses, so they have an offer technically. But the other 5 are just creating to grow with the idea that maybe they'll launch a community like me later on. And the whole point of the masterclass that I gave was, you need to have it set up now, because it's like you're trying to fish without a net, or you're trying to fish without bait. You're just kind of like just throwing stuff out there and hoping stuff sticks. And the offer system for creators specifically, right? People who don't have a business that they're funneling people to. The idea is that you're, like we said in the last question you asked me, like that is the system for capturing leads. That is the system, that the net to actually grab people. And so, I say, usually if I'm thinking about launching some sort of like series or doing something with my personal brand, I always couple it with some sort of lead capture. And I think that's like that should be a given. So for all of the content in December that I put out, I was promoting the lead magnet that was my 90-day content workbook. And so that way, at the very least, I'm getting emails and I'm getting numbers of people who might buy into future things. But now it's like I've actually built out my community offer, and I'm building out other offers as like that I'll start tiering on as the year goes by. But if you don't have something set up, you're just wasting time and energy when you could be capturing hot leads, especially if you're doing short, like low ticket stuff. I mean, I would buy your LUT in a heartbeat if you just talked about it, or if you just had the link in your bio when I checked your profile, So many little things that we could do.
That's good. That's real good, man. And the name of your business is 3 Circles.
That's right.
Correct. So you have the agency side of things, where you work with business owners and businesses, and then you created the educational side of it and the community where you're helping creators.
That's correct.
All right, that's exactly what I'm doing, man.
That's awesome. Let's go. How's that going?
So I have the agency side. I'm still in the free community aspect of it. So where I'm like just getting people to join the free community for now, and then from there, well, it depends on when this lands, when this comes out before. But I'm also creating an in-person experience with a
Ooh,
friend
that's
of
dope.
mine. We're creating this thing for
Nice.
creatives, essentially, and then from there, the program will be born
Beautiful.
out of that.
That's
basically.
amazing, bro.
And so, yeah, 3 circles. So give me the
Yeah.
framework. How do you help either business owners or creatives get more clarity
Yes.
with their
So
content?
simply put, I know what I want to do at the finish line, right? Like the 5-year plan is, I want to be somebody people trust enough to like, learn from, to want to be around, and to, candidly like pay to speak on conferences. Like I want to eventually, my goal, and I'll say this, I love all my clients, but the goal is to like the agency to fade, and like the personal brand community, like value thing that I'm building to be the main thing. And so with that in mind, I was like, man, I know like people launch courses and like they'll do digital courses, and that's like one thing, but there's kind of a weird stigma around that right now, and I don't want to be like associated with those kind of people. So I said, what can I launch today that is something that is evergreen, that people can join, leave, it's not high commitment, that actually I can impact people on a day-to-day. And so the first thing for me was like a paid community. So the reason I did paid and not free to start is twofold. One is I wanted someone to have skin in the game, because if you're going to commit to 90 days, and I say this in the group all the time, like sometimes there'll be people who just aren't really participating, and I'll legit in the chat like call them out, like, yo, at blank, what's up, bro? I haven't seen you post anything. And it'll get people fired up. Part of it is like accountability. Like when you're joining this group, you're paying a monthly price, so you better like make use of it. So you get that accountability group. I think content creation can get really lonely, right, from personal experience. And so having the group
For sure.
has helped me just in general. It's just fun. 2 is like you get direct feedback from me. So a lot of my followers want access to me directly, where I might not, be responding to every DM, but if you're a part of this community, I'm responding and liking, and, I even have a chat set up for content audits. So people can like send in a video before they post it, and I can be like, yo, okay, you could do this, change this. And then everyone in the community has access to that, so they can also give their feedback.
Nice.
And so we've seen a lot of success in that. And then the third one is we have the weekly master classes. And so the idea here is that I'm building like a perpetually growing course in and of itself, right? Like every week we're tackling a new subject. Sometimes it's like a 2-part thing, so we'll go on multiple weeks. And yeah, the idea is right now, and this is why you could justify a higher price later on. Right now, there's only 4 hours worth of digital content that you can get value from. But in 4 months, there's going to be, 30 hours of, value that somebody who just sees a piece, a minute 30 piece on monetization on content, can join the community just to watch the 2-hour masterclass on diving deep into it. So that's really how we give clarity. The point is, when you join, you get accountability, clarity, and direct feedback from me. And I think that's more than enough to justify that. But on top of that, I also just randomly, I'll make a video on something. I'm like, I could make a 30-minute thing real quick off of this. And so I'll just hop on a Loom video, create a thing about it, and then just post it on the board. And then a lot of people love that, because it's like, oh, cool. Like this isn't even part of the deal, and I'm getting it. And so that's the goal.
That's cool, man. I like that, because then, as you continue, it compounds, right? The type of content that you're creating, whether for Instagram, for YouTube, or within your community, it's all compounding, and you're going to gain interest in that. I was listening to a podcast recently, and they asked this guy I think he has like $100 million in real estate, and about 300K followers on Instagram. It's like, if you were to choose which one to lose today, which one is it going to be? And he said he would rather lose the $100 million in real estate and keep his 300 followers, because he knows it could make more, out of those people based on the content that it's putting out. And so that's what like social or interest media, is the new currency.
Attention is the currency.
Attention.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, if you would have
So
told any CEO 30 years ago that there could be this magical place where you could share everything about your business as many times as you wanted, unlimited, they would go crazy. Are you kidding me? If like Carnegie or Rockefeller like had the opportunity to do that and they didn't have to, do ads and there's limited space on radio. If there was just this unlimited magical thing that you could just continually sell people on, they would go crazy. And that's what we have access to today. And so, yeah, that makes total sense. 300K followers. Are you kidding me? Like, you're telling me you can't convert. You do the math and you're like 10% of that for like a $10 product is crazy bread. Is already probably replacing your personal expenses.
Exactly. And so like doing that and starting today, with those businesses that are not necessarily following some kind of strategy, for their business, for their company, like start today. Like, in your experience, what is the resistance that you find from business owners trying to follow some kind of strategy for their company?
Yeah, well, the first one is budget. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people just don't see the ROI value of content marketing upfront. The people who do are the best clients because they'll just pay you what you believe. But the people who don't, unfortunately, you know what I mean? Like, it makes sense. Like, logically in their head, they're like, why would I pay to make videos when I could pay to, I don't know, hire another intern and like make our operation 10 times faster or like 10% faster, sorry. And so like, you got to kind of empathize with business owners who think that way because they have real problems they're dealing with day to day. But it's like, and it's funny because this is a question I asked myself before committing to posting daily for 90 days. The question I asked myself was like, where, if I could, and this is perfect for your answer. The resistance is, if I knew that by the end of this, I would have 25,000 followers and a steady revenue of $5,000 a month, would I put this input in right now and commit to it? And I said, yeah, if I knew that was thing. But obviously we have that. Yeah. That's the gap. It's the knowing of if it's going to work. And that's where I would say for any business owner watching this, it's like, you got to find somebody who you fully trust. You don't just give money to a random videographer down the street who doesn't have the like credibility or the case studies or the experience. But man, if you have the opportunity to work with an Akin, right, or with a me, and I pop up in your algorithm, and I'm promising this, that, and third, and we have 20 people who've actually done it, what are you gonna lose? You're gonna lose money that you're gonna make back, right? If it doesn't work out. But realistically, it is gonna work out. Like, if you knew this was the outcome, and all you had to do was do the input, why aren't you doing it? It's just fear, and it's just mental gymnastics, I think, at that point.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's good. That's a good way to frame it, because at the end of the day, you are going to capture something, data. Yeah. I'm a part of.
At the very least, you're gonna get more revenue than you're getting now, right? Yeah. So it's like that's a for sure guarantee.
Very much so. That's a for sure guarantee. Whether it's one person or 1,000 people, it's more than you had before. So I'm part of Omar El Tokori's coaching program. Yeah. And so it's dope, being in there and like listening to all the stories and just wins from 7-figure earners, 8-figure earners, and like just listening to their story and like understanding like their content game. And it's like everyone struggles with the same thing, bro. You're not. That fear of outcome? Yeah. Like just the fear of putting themselves out there as well, of just creating content. So if you're sitting there, you're not a unicorn. You're not by yourself. Everyone is struggling with the same thing that you are dealing with. But the difference is, and what separates the person that is able to make money from their personal brand or not, is the fact that they are willing to put themselves out there. And if you just take that step to do it, your life is going to change. I took that step like 2 years ago to really put myself out there. Prior to that, 8 years of building my, 10 years of building my business, but 8 years, into it, I was always behind the camera, holding the camera. I'm an introvert. I don't talk a lot. And so putting myself out there was a scary thought. And so I decided to take the step. Like, if I am going to be a better videographer, a better coach for the people that I'm telling, like businesses to create content, then I have to be creating content as well. So if you're a videographer listening to this, that's what you need to do. Build your personal brand as well. Put yourself out there to know how those businesses feel. And then you could really come up with the framework and the coaching that they need in order to push them to the next level. Yeah, man. So like looking at your systems and the feedback that you've gotten, how do you help businesses build repeatable systems for video creation?
Okay, so on the agency side, what I like to do is like we don't touch a camera until we have some sort of strategy set up. And so for me, something the main system to like guarantee success is to tell them I'm going to conduct a market-wide research and put together this like analytics report for you to see what's working for other people in your niche and across niches that are also that we could apply to our niche. So one of the clients I'm most proud of recently is last year we took on a 1-year retainer with a horse racing organization. And with them, that's like the nichest of niches. Like nobody cares about that. Like we can't go like a broad go to market. It's like very clearly the goal is to just become an industry expert. And so with them, the system that I set in place is, to not give away the sauce, you want to come up with some sort of multi-pillar strategy for video for their brand, right? So luckily, they already had like an internal marketing team that set up the branding, so it made the other side really easy. I always say that like with brands, there's brand identity and then there's content identity, and those are two separate things that coincide, right? And so a brand guide, looks great on a PDF, but like how does that translate? That's my job. It's like how do I apply all of the branding elements that you've created into the video? And so outside of like developing the creative identity and like finalizing a plan of, a go-to-market plan of these 3 pillars, 4 pillars with them, we had because it was a big retainer, we had 8 content format pillars, like 8 different repeatable formats that we would do. And so again, problem is we can't just try to make content that appeals to the masses because the masses don't care about horse racing, and there's kind of a stigma behind it that we're like hurting the horses and stuff. And so it's like a whole thing that you kind of have to, the idea is to first grow within your niche, and then going into year 2, like we did this January, it's like now how can we capitalize off of this and go mainstream and think broader. But yeah, we grew them from 2,000 to almost 12,000 followers in a year. Which the biggest, company in that niche has like, I think it's like Churchill Downs, which is the Kentucky Derby venue. They have like 45,000 followers. And so that was like huge growth. We went from nobody knows who they are and they don't even have any winning horses to not even by the end of the year, but like 6 months in, every time we'd go to like a horse race event, we'd get stopped while filming the content being like, yo, I love your content. And like, it created this value that they could really see impacted. And I think it's off of the back of really developing that content creative identity and setting up a framework, a repeatable framework, then the algorithm can seed to start sharing with the right people. So for example, one of theirs, because we knew that we wanted to grow within a market, was educational content. So we did a lot of talking head videos, dynamic ones, because the idea of the brand is like it's very urban. They're owned by like the people who own this racing group own a label, like a music label. And so it's a big part of their brand, like lifestyle and all that. And so the content reflected that as well. But those educational things, it took up like half of, the pie chart. We did like, what does a horse's diet consist of in a really creative way that's like fun and like exciting and, has animation. And we would travel across different tracks and do, here's why the Kentucky Derby is important historically. And there we captured all of the horse racing community industry by the end of the year. And so for everybody thinking about how to really help grow the business through video content, that's what you have to think about. It's not even about the videos themselves. It's like, how is the market going to react to this? And what's your desired outcome? If our desired outcome off rip was the masses, I think that would have been a failing strategy because we would come off as like arrogant within the niche, the industry, and then that would have brought problems in the business. And it's a whole thing, bro. And you got to like get out of your head of like our tunnel vision as creators is how do we make this video the best it could be, or this strategy the best it could be for the video side? How do we make it look the cleanest, sound the cleanest, feel the best? And it's like there's going to be real life impact and real life reactions to this content for the business owner. And so in this specific instance, that was a really big part. It was like, we're new to the industry and we're trying to cement ourselves as experts without coming off arrogant, while being humble, while, keeping an urban tone, but also not wanting to feel like we're too urban for this community that doesn't like that necessarily. Right. And that was a big challenge. But if we didn't take those things into account, and if, that was thanks to the client a lot, that they were very a part of the process, we wouldn't have established a winning content identity that, now we could scale back because they don't need content that much because they're already cemented, and that was like the big win. And yeah, so those two things, creative identity and the framework of the content pillars.
That's good. Content pillars. And it's what I've noticed is not every creative works for every business, and that's why you have to understand the identity of the business to truly give them, this is your content pillars, these are your content formats that work, and you pair those things together for that specific business.
Right.
I work with a makeup artist, and her name is Jasmine, created Beauty Co, killing it, bro. And she wanted to, move like from being the makeup artist to coaching other makeup artists.
Nice.
So that was the reason, we stuck with educational content. So for the first year, it's like, okay, just give out your sauce, how do you do your eyebrows, your makeup, all that type of stuff. So we went YouTube first and then Instagram. So 1 long form video a week and then 3 Instagram clips,
nice.
To follow that. And so, she grew from 6,000 followers to about 23.5 thousand,
wow.
In less than a year.
That's awesome.
Brands are reaching out to her, giving her products and all that kinds of stuff. And so now looking at this year, the strategy is, now let's talk about business a little bit more. Yes, you've given out, what you've done as a makeup artist, but you're also running a business.
Right.
And you want to help this other makeup artist to make 6 figures in a year.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how you did it. Yeah. What are your strategies? What are some of the things that you implemented? And so she did a 3-day challenge. Nice. And landed her first 2 coaching students, crazy. So
that's amazing.
It's just been cool, like looking at the build-up of how content could take you from where you were to where you want to go.
100%.
And that's just the beauty of it,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you work with businesses, how do you structure either the week or month? Are you doing batch content or are you going weekly to film? Like, what is your strategy?
Yeah, so I like to do batch content as much as possible. And of course it depends on the client, like there might be some clients that their content might be more topical, and so it requires you to create content or record content more consistently. So like, if I had, I used to produce podcasts often, and so a lot of that is like reacting to real-time events. And so like obviously you can't batch 4 podcast episodes if the idea is to react to culture, right? And so, it depends on the client, depends what they need. But for the most part, the most we can batch, the better. And so the framework I bake into my packages, my retainer, recurring is, they basically get 2 to, I think the max is 5 production days a month, with the idea of on that production day, we're going to come out with X amount of deliverables. And so the 2 should cover, the 15 videos, right, to post like twice a week or whatever. And so that's kind of the model. And for me personally, I batch as much as I can. For my content right now, like if you look at my new series, it's A-roll and then a ton of B-roll. To keep it more engaging. And so for me, and I've done a bad job of it the last few days, but I should be capturing B-roll on a day-to-day, like this, if I wasn't recording with my camera, I'd be setting up different angles as we're talking and like capturing stuff.
Right.
And so there's stuff that is batchable, there's stuff that isn't batchable, but general philosophy should be whatever I can batch, I should batch because it's going to save you time. And then it just, as a creator, you want to have that safety of like, we don't need anything else. Like if we need to turn around the cut, we have the stuff we need to lock in for an hour and turn it around. And so, batch for sure.
No, that's good. Yeah, batch. And also I think it depends on the stage of life you're in, because there are some people that batching works for them because they got kids, they got
Yeah.
family. We can't film
Right.
every day. You can't have a videographer follow you for 4 hours a day. So you got to batch that
That's a
content.
good point.
Like for me, when I first started, I didn't really like batching my short form content
Yeah.
initially, but now I do. Like I literally filmed 6 videos before this
Nice.
today. I had a meeting, then I was like, all right, I got time, so let me just knock this out
Okay.
right now. And so knocked it out, and then now we're doing more content. I have another camera shooting me for my
Yeah.
vertical, because what I've noticed is, and since we're talking about content, so I'm talking
Yeah.
real life
Yeah.
content. This is what I'm doing for my podcast. Is what I've noticed is when I do this virtual podcast and we cut the front end for Instagram, it doesn't give me enough space. So today I moved back, and then today I set up a different
Nice.
vertical, camera, just to like let's try it out. And that's what content is. You're testing a lot of stuff at the same time, trying to figure out like, okay, this works, this doesn't work, let's not do that again. But this works, or this can work. We just need to improve on the
Right.
strategy. And so that's what I've landed is content is testing. And I like that you talked about I forget what you said, video content versus something else. They're two
Like
different
brand
things.
identity versus
I've
creative
even
identity. Yeah.
yeah, I've even landed on the differences between brand itself. So brand is what people say about who you are, right? And it's more than just social media. This is your brand as a person, your reputation. What do people say about you? Is your brand. And then the branding, ing, is the message.
that.
This is the action, that you take in order to, determine what people actually say
Right.
about you. So if you don't like what your brand is saying, then you have to do branding to change what that brand identity is. And then your marketing is how you sell.
That's good.
This is how you just sell your brand. And then the systems and the strategy, these are your offers. That's the engine. That's what produces the money that you need to actually
Right.
fund your brand.
Right.
And then video content is a vehicle that you have to use in today's age. In 2026, if you're a business and you're not doing video, then you're lacking, And so all these 5 things work hand in hand together. And that's why people confuse them and think they're all the same thing. They are different things. And so that's what I've landed on when
That's
it comes
smart.
to that.
I think, that's what makes up brand are messaging and positioning. Those are the 2 things that like make up brand. And you just said that in a very bite-sized way that's going to make for a great clip. But the idea is like messaging is like how you're saying the things you're saying and how you're perceived. And then positioning is like what you're comparing yourself to, how you're positioned in the market. And it's exactly that. Like people are going to see you as, yesterday's video was similar. It was talking about how you could make burgers, and little things like price dictate whether you're positioned as a McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, or you're positioned as a Five Guys, Shake Shack, medium fast restaurant, right? And so same with us. Like there's so many little things in our branding that dictate how we're perceived. And it's a lot of the things are the things that we try to shortcut, like price, right, to make us more desirable. But the reality is, if like, no matter how good the McDonald's burger might be, like I'm forever gonna think it's the lowest, the bottom of the bottom, because a McDouble costs $4. You know what I mean? Like that's gonna forever in my mind tell me. RFK himself could come out with a campaign saying, well, McDonald's is the healthiest burger in the United States. And I would not believe it, because it doesn't cost as much as the vegan one down the street. And that's like a perception thing and a psychology thing that we need to apply to our business and with every side of it. It's like, what other things, and that would be a good question for the audience to think, like, what things am I in my messaging is affecting my positioning in a negative way? So in video, like maybe you're right, I can blow up with iPhone content. It's happened. But how is that positioning me in the marketplace? Somebody like an Akin who invests in their content and like make sure it always looks pristine, you're gonna be perceived as a higher premium product as a personal coach and as an agency owner than the person doing the before and after iPhone clips, even if it's the craziest looking iPhone clip, because of just perception. That's just how we are as humans.
Yeah, that's perception, and it's good. And it does two things, right? It brings in the people that you want to work with, but it also repels the people you don't want to work with. You know, so it's doing both. Your messaging, your marketing is doing both things. So if you want to work with premium, then be premium. If you want to work with low ends, then adjust your prices accordingly as well. So let's talk about you, Andres. Getting into video. Now you're doing this work in Miami. How did you get into it?
Into video. Okay, so I am a world-renowned. No, I'm playing. I'm a church creative, and so that was my starting point. When I was 15, my family and I were saved. We came up Catholic, and I mean like Latin Catholic, meaning we don't really practice the faith at all. We just kind of go to mass when we feel guilty. Like I did like my first communion as a 10-year-old. I did that. I was a part of Sunday school, whatever. But it's more of like training your kid up in the right ways, less of like I have a relationship with God type of upbringing. When we moved to Texas, my dad got a gig as a percussionist at this church in Dallas, and because through that we just encountered Jesus, and we all got baptized. We were all saved, and I noticed that my whole family was serving to some capacity, and I was the only one not serving. I joined the live production crew as one of the camera guys, and then I connected with the creative director of the church because they had a small group where they were teaching people how to use DSLRs. This was I was 15, so 12 years ago, before mirrorless came out. And so the idea was like, I think the group was actually called, so corny, it's like open your aperture, right? And so you would go, and there was a photographer, the church photographer, and then the church videographer, or the both creative directors, and they would teach us. They would put us through some sort of training so we could serve them, and help the marketing of the church. And joining that, I fell in love with the cameras, and I had already the reason I joined it is because I had this like little dream of being like a YouTuber, because that's when YouTube started, blowing up. I think the first like Niga Higa, like that Asian crew that would make funny skits. I was like, I would consume that all the time. I was like, I can do this, right? And so I was like, I want to be a YouTuber or whatever. Boom, boom. The rapid training that is being a church creative taught me everything I know. So from the moment of joining the small group, those two guys became like my first mentors. And the funny thing about church creatives as the director role is that it's very demanding, and a lot of the churches can be very toxic in the workplace side of things. So like everybody can attest to it who's been a part of it. Like yes, there's healthy churches, and I'm a part of one now, but if somebody's quitting at the end of their contract for every year, then there's probably a problem. That was the case at this church. And so sucked for them, because they would be outworked and they'd leave. Great for me, because I'm 15-year-old learning from shout out Jamal Jackson, who's like a traditional filmmaker legend. He's worked in Hollywood and all this other stuff. Learned from him for a year. Then they brought in this other guy who was like more of a post-production guy, and I was like, hi, my name's Andrés. And then I learned editing from him, and then for a whole year. Nice. And then come the next guy, and he's like an After Effects guy, and I'm like, oh cool, what's up, I'm Andrés. And so I got like a 6-year training from 15 to 19 from all of these guys, and that's really what started it and kicked it all off.
Nice man. Nah, that's really cool, because I'm also a church creative. Grew up in the church, back in the day, like a 10-year-old teaching people how to dance. That was my first thing. Dope. It was dance, and then music, so you can break as well in the church, playing drums.
Let's go.
Yeah, man.
I cannot dance.
So and then there's also like back in the day, you remember those slide-in, what's it called?
Oh yeah.
Projector. The old ones where you gotta be sliding it up. Yeah. So like we're using that, like doing media, and then eventually like learning the skill of videography and photography, and became a creative director. Awesome. I worked at a church for 7 years, led a team, led the creative team. And so like a lot of what I'm speaking on with the creatives I'm trying to grow their business comes from those years, foundational years for me, of being a creative director. And so like it's been cool, like just noticing that. And then for you, going from church creative and then building a business, how did that equate?
Like, how did that happen? How did I make the transition?
How did
Yeah.
that
So,
happen? Yeah.
well, I mean, thanks to the church, I was able to build a really decent portfolio, and like, a very, back then I would not brag about these edits now because they weren't the best, but back in the day, when you're trying to charge just like $200 for a video, it was great. And so, yeah, working for a church, because it was same with me. I like served for like 7 years, then I ended up like getting hired as a creative director of like one of the campuses.
Nice.
And then they hired me for the global once we like expanded more to like lead all of the churches creatively. And yeah, that really helped me understand a whole lot. And so I think during the transitional phase of leaving the church, while I was working there, this was like COVID time, like 2020 at this point. I was like, I need some more money. And like, when you're a church creative, you're not getting paid a lot. So, it's kind of encouraged to have a side hustle or something, And so, I started a video production company in Dallas, and just translating what I knew from the church stuff into what I would assume would work. And so, back then, social media worked a lot differently. Like, it wasn't really like an on-ramp to business. It was more like you got to do it to kind of keep up and to like,
Right.
it didn't lead to business the way it leads to business now. It was more like
Today,
we just want to have content, or you would do commercial work for actual advertising. And so that's what I did for the most part when I was there. And so, the transition was easy. And, funny enough, it's cool that you're a creative guy too, and you were a director, because if you know how to like charge up a team to serve at a church, aka work for free and get better and like follow some rules, if you can do that, you could probably lead a paid team of content creators. You know what I mean? So it's like, I credit the church for every piece of expertise in any of this area, because it's like university degree. So my dad always said, he was like, because I dropped out of college, and he was like, you got a degree from the church. You just don't get credit for it.
You just don't get credit for it. Now, and that's true. Like and I've always said this, everything that you do, it becomes, I call it your collection of creativity. Everything that you've done, it becomes who you are, and those experiences go with you to the next thing. And you're able to bring that experience with you, and you're able to grow because that's what you did, live production and then editing and then After Effects. It's like you're taking those experiences, and now they've come with you into your business. They can't take it away because you actually lived it out. And that's why I say, like, everyone is a collection of creativity. It just depends on how you want to see that and how you want to, like, frame it. It's your passions, your lived experiences, what you do well, what you get paid for well, and you take all that idea, you could really land into your purpose and what you're supposed to be doing.
So
and that's a framework for me on how I help people, get to that place.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, man. So as we wrap up, bro, appreciate you for being on here. What is the biggest mindset shift someone needs to make to go from posting videos to growing their business with video?
That's a good one. Well, assuming this is a creator, right? Like, from just posting videos as a creator to making money from posting the videos, the mindset shift would be, I am not posting content just to post content because it's part of my identity. I am posting content because it is the marketing function of the business I'm building. When I changed my mindset from being a creator to being a business owner, a big part of that meant that the content doesn't pay the bills, the business pays the bills, and the content brings the business. And so when you see it that way, your relationship with content creation changes, because now, and this is what I've experienced, right? I can't attest to everybody, but I remember I was a really big perfectionist and overthinker. And I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that feeling of, man, I don't want to post this video, or I don't think it's ready yet, or I don't want to export it because it's not as good as Sam Colders or whoever else you look up to in the moment, right? It's like, there's a lot of comparison and like paralysis or analysis paralysis, right? When you have the mindset of, I'm a creator, because then your identity is attached to the creation, right? It's not attached to the business. It's attached to the individual posts, and then the catalog of posts, and like your grid. Does your grid look coherent enough? Like these, like literally, like if there was like a ladder of importance or priorities, like the creator has it flipped. The creator prioritizes how the grid looks. Is the bio optimized? Is, the color grade on point? Like, when you flip your mindset to I'm a business owner and I happen to be blessed with the gift of creation, and so I can leverage this to build a business that blesses not just me and my family, but families at large, then you start realizing, you know what? This video I just made doesn't need animation throughout the whole video. Realistically, I could save about 4 hours of my life and only animate in the first 30 seconds, because if people stick past that, they're gonna stick for the rest. You think about your relationship changes. And so that's the biggest thing, man. Like in 2026, if you're doing content the right way, that is not the product. The content isn't the product. The product is the product you should be selling, right? The offer attached to your content, not the content itself. And that will literally heal you and deliver you from so many headaches that you used to have, like overthinking and analysis paralysis and comparison, because all you're going to be attached to realistically is how many videos am I putting out? Am I following my non-negotiables? And is it converting? And then those three things are so tweakable and adjustable, and there's things you can change. You can start adding the call to action in the front end, as a smaller segment after the hook and before the body of the video. And maybe that performs a little better. And you just look at content as just a framework and not like this reflection of who I am as a person. And that has been incredibly freeing for me. And it's the reason I've been able to be consistent, because yeah, bro, like it's just too much pressure. We put so much pressure on everything, bro. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. And then from there, as a creative, you can separate yourself from the outcome.
Yep.
It's like, just because this did not perform the way you thought it was going to perform, you're not a bad creator or a bad creative.
Yep.
You got to remove yourself from the outcome and just let the outcome be the outcome. And then, so if you were to switch that up for business owners that are already making money, what is the mindset shift that they have to make in order to start creating content, for their business?
You're already making money. You probably want to make more money. And if you're not creating content, you're not making more money. It's that simple. I think it's like, if you like, let me think of an analogy here. If your car would run faster with a V8 engine, and your goal is to have a faster car, then why are you sticking with your V4 engine that's just getting you by? That's how I would look at it. Content is that upgrade, is that like those changes that you can make quickly, fast, that you can implement with relatively not that high of an expense. I think like the average retainer package for most, at least like solopreneurs, is like $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Like if you look at that as a business owner and your expenses for your the lease for your office is like $7,000, like you can invest another $3,000 knowing that you're at least going to make more money than you're making now. And so like the goal of business is to increase profit every year, right? That's the model. And so if you knew that you could implement this one thing and you're going to do that, you're going to increase at least 5 to 10% from having an actual thing that works, well, then do it. And that's the mindset shift. It's you're driving a V4 expecting a V8 without taking it to the mechanic. And that's all we are. We're mechanics.
That makes sense, bro. Yeah. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on. Where could people connect with you, find you? I'll also list it out in the description for people to find, but you could go ahead and say it now.
Yeah, so if you want to connect with me, my personal brand is probably the best place to find me. It's at Andrés R Tags. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see my agency, and then you'll know all about my community and everything else I'm going to launch this year. So yeah, at Andrés R Tags on Instagram. I'm on YouTube too, but kind of not consistent on there. But if you want to check those out, it's at Just Call Me Tags. And that's about it. Yeah.
Shout out to you. Shout out to everything that you're doing and everything you got going on, man. Appreciate you. And if you're still watching, leave us a comment about your favorite part and DM me the word Creative Fam.
Let's go.
So I know that you stayed to the end of this conversation. Thank you for listening. Talk to you till next time. Peace.
Peace.